Yo, this is propaganda. It's 24/7 HH. These are my king bars. Word to grandpops who couldn't fathom the Obamas. I don't hate America, just the man she keeps her promises. 20 teens looking like the 60s, it's crazy. A nationwide deja vu, what my people supposed to do. Go to schools named after the Klan founder. Word round town is y'all don't see why we frowning. And Native American students forced to learn about Winnow Sarah. How is that fair, bruh? And some heroes unsung and some monsters get monuments built for them. But ain't we all a little bit of monster? We crooked with the civil unrest, like in the sort of state of sort of oppressed people groups and people of color in our nations being very frustrated by our treatment is not just like one-to-one, but like built into the laws. Like you gotta remember, it was like, you know, the 3/5 compromise is like, that was like a law that had to convince the country that like black people were actually the same species as white people. You know what I'm saying? Like you needed a law for that. You feel me? So like, there's no hate for our nation. What we're saying is, this is who you said you were. And this is what you promised your citizens. You said, give us your tired, your huddled mass. This is what you said. You said you hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created. That's what you said. So I don't hate you. I just want you to do what you said you were gonna do. Every California kid, when they're in 4th grade, you have to learn about the California missions, sort of the Catholic missions. They would set up these places. It's all up and down like the California coast. When you're in 4th grade, you have to learn them, right? If you grew up in California, right? And all of them have a statue in front of them of Saint, you know, who's now a Saint Winnow Sarah. And you got to do projects, you got to build a mission, right? And it's required to graduate from 4th grade or to move from 4th grade in California. But like, this man was responsible for like slavery and the genocide of so many Native American, like, you know, tribes, right? There's entire tribes like missing from California because of this dude, you know what I'm saying? So just the idea that like, okay, yeah, he was this sort of hero, you know what I'm saying? But it depends on who you ask. Like, ask the Persian Empire if Alexander is so great. You know what I'm saying? Like, we call him Alexander. What that does to your psyche as like a 4th grader who's like, no, I'm like a Native American. You're making me learn about this dude and treat him like that's like, it's crooked. Like, that's a really twisted way to like put together education. Like, I'm gonna make you learn about your oppressor. Your whole steez is twisted. He ain't old enough to buy beer, but gone and list him. Send him to Iraq. Why he come back crazy? Cause no human being should see the inside of a baby. You expect trust in a system that needed to be convinced of the madness of trust in a court that waved a Confederate flag. It's crooked. You still looking at a tunnel rat, pin player, earthworm, battle cat, hate trends. Might learn my lesson the day after the world ends. Been wrestling with it since my wife was my girlfriend. Crooked like I take a bullet for my wife, but I wonder what's under the skirt of the girl on my flight. These eyes of mine wander, lost sight, come and get me. Homie, I'm not a leader, just a hippie with daddy issues. Shattered dreams and promises, a closed-minded hypocrite. All the while standing in the pulpit, the culprit. We are all of the above, right and wrong and indifferent, yet none of the above. It naturally fit in this. Subjects and predicates subjected to my detriment. Dedicated to elevating, devastating pride. It's quite a ride, but if you look inside, bruh, some things just don't make sense. Go with it. As much as I'm sort of pointing outwards at things that I can see are like wrong and twisted and illogical and uncomfortable, like the reality is there's so much about me that is also, you know, I stand for one thing, but at the same time struggle with a lot of times in the very same way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a one-woman man. I've been a one-woman man. You know what I'm saying? My entire marriage, there's no hint of any, this is just not my life. You know what I'm saying? But that don't mean, you feel me, that I'm not like having to like make myself turn my face away. You know what I'm saying? And like, I'm not like making myself not look at the Explore tab. You feel me? On like an Instagram, like, it's real, you feel me? But I fight for it. So what I'm trying to say is like, there's nobody in here that's really mastered like completely without any inconsistencies about the things that they actually like teach or stand for. So that's that part. Perplexed by the truth that defies logic, but who say that logic's the best way to understand truth? That's the thinking of our colonizers. Truth is proven only through ears and eyes, and if you can't trust it, then you can't touch it. That's why they can't explain the love in my daughter's eyes. And, oh, that's that conscious rap. Oh, that's played out. You old school, you old dudes, you aged out. There's new rules. These new dudes ain't like you. They say you hating when you don't toss them a retweet. I study for every test. Y'all is looking for a cheat sheet. Things I gotta tell you, love you too much to be scared of you. Collection of contradictions, misnomers and paradox, conclusion, confusing like the way that I see me. An apex predator 10 steps ahead of you. Desperately trying to hide my insecurities. Paper mache proper, he be trying to hide the duct tape. Defending my card castle like it could stand in one gust of wind. The lust of eyes shackle me. Just as I be tackling my inner demons, eating through my marriage and my parenting. What is arrogant and humble, eloquent, ridiculous, confident and nervous. Sold out the tickets for the VIP. The smell of cigarettes and broken dreams. Bands that could have been contenders, now Venice Beach vendors. Like, dog, that could be me. When you set out to do work and you get a little bit of success, oftentimes, like, you can start believing your own hype, that this is always gonna be here, it's always gonna be okay, and you can walk by these dudes on the streets, like again, it's a California thing, like, and a lot of times, like, the California, like, on the Venice Beach, like, them dudes are incredible artists, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're actually super talented dudes. And yeah, like, okay, I get to climb into a tour bus, wake up at 11:15 and roll out to catering, you feel me? Like, but I gotta remember, like, that was not always that way. And every tour ain't like that. Like, right now, like, we're in a van and, like, 8 of us in a 15 passenger. Like, that's a lot of dudes, you know what I'm saying, right? So just remembering that, like, man, like, these dudes, like, you're one tweet away, you know what I mean? You're one, like, accidental hashtag, you're one slip up from being that person. So before you, like, somehow, you know, keep smelling yourself enough, like right now you killing it, and that person's like, you know what I'm saying, he lame, you know what I'm saying, he couldn't get it cracking. It's like, fam, that could be you feel me, right? Or the market could change immediately, you know what I'm saying? Like, somebody could mess around, end your career. Like, we've seen rappers end other rappers' careers, like, out of nowhere, you feel me? So, like, really just keep kind of like that attitude of humility, and when you know, fandemonium starts approaching, you just kind of remember, like, yo, this is not forever. So make your words matter, your voice matter, and just approach people with just humility and grace, knowing that, like, yo, they just as crazy as you are, and you really are crazy, you feel me? What is man but a rich soil, toiled in fine Hennessy, a beautiful garden that cost a pretty penny. Listen, it's freely given, but you've been warned, these halos stay balanced on the tip of our horns, we crooked. I guess when I think of, like, album work or just making music, I think about it in terms of, like, a body of work, and it's kind of like really what I feel like life or, you know, or God, if you will, is trying to teach me, right? And in a time where I feel like, you know, as sort of a member of a oppressed people group or a disenfranchised people group, oftentimes I feel like we're really not being heard. Like, in any relationship, like, oftentimes the issue becomes, stop being the issue when you kind of feel like you're just not being listened to, and that becomes the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are you not listening to me? And I think that when we don't listen to each other, it kind of sets up this relationship between one and the other that kind of exalts one person above the other. Like, you're gonna stand on your square, like, you're right, you know what I'm saying, and the other person is wrong, and that's the only way you could win an argument. The problem is, like, life's not a comic book. Like, there's not, like, good guys ain't all good and bad guys really ain't all bad. I think that there's, like, crookedness that kind of exists in all of us. So whether it's a systemic crookedness that kind of sits in there, and these logics that we say that we just kind of go through every day and just kind of accept as, like, normal, or actually incredibly illogical, you know what I'm saying? And then there's other things that are just systems of injustice that we've just, again, accepted that that's just the way to go. And then you take those things, you apply to, you know, a person, and oftentimes you're looking at the person over there, and it's really easy to spot what's wrong with them, but it's incredibly difficult to spot what's wrong with you know what I'm saying? So I think that, like, if we can understand that, like, really, like, both of these things exist in all of us, then we can offer what I think the greatest gift of being a person of faith is empathy, is, like, really, like, being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and understand that, like, you know what I mean, it's ratchetness in all of us, you know what I'm saying? And, like, we all kind of really need some help, you know what I mean? So if you can have that position, then, you know, you carry a posture of humility and of grace, and that can apply in your personal relationships and in the systemic system too. Like, so when you see an injustice that happens to another person, rather than trying to figure out, like, why they don't have an argument for what they're going through, it's like, nah, I'm gonna immediately put myself in their shoes and say, whether I understand it or not, you feel me? Like, I don't need to understand it. I need to know that, like, hey, if my brother, if my sister is telling me they're experiencing something, I want to empathize with that situation because I understand, like, I ain't perfect either, you know what I mean? And neither is the structures for which we exist in. So that's really like the concept I'm trying to unpack in that whole thing. So I just try to take like multiple areas in our lives and kind of show like kind of the both and in those situations.
Got all of my real ones locked in the building walls so they feed us. All of our leaders, they killed them all. Cletus, I had a dream. Hell no, I wish I had a beam.
The drum roll sets it off with everything before the drop. And I layered a lot of the snare. I had like 2 snares on it.
The dudes that I've met in Beverly Hills haven't been that tight. Like, I met a lot of just shady, weird people, and not just Beverly Hills, just like all those like areas that you put up on the house on the hills, you know?
So that's one little small picture of us messing up the minds and the innocence and the purity of a kid, but it's really a bigger issue that we see in society as a whole.